Alright, in this video I'm going to show you my favourite Ableton shortcuts, which won't only just save you time, but they'll just make your life in Ableton so much easier. And if you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into the video. So first of all, starting with some good shortcuts to get around Ableton quickly. So for any of these shortcuts, if you're using Control on Windows, be sure to use Command on Mac. And if you're using Alt in any of these shortcuts on Windows, the Mac equivalent is Option. You want to line this up first to make sure it's over the part of the track that you want. So just for this example, I've selected 8 bars here. Just for example, if I wanted to duplicate this part of the track, I can go Control D. So that's just duplicated that to there. Then I can go Control Z to undo that, gone back to what it was previously. If I wanted to duplicate this but not overwrite this, I could go Control Shift D, like so. So that's duplicated that now and move this across. So I can go Control Z to undo that. Also, if I wanted to duplicate time without getting rid of what I have here already, I can go Control I. That's just put another 8 bars in here. Super useful if I'm trying to get ideas down. Like, yeah, I could duplicate time and I could remove some of this stuff, or I can add some elements too. But this is probably the one I use the most, is by clicking the tab button, you can go from your session view to here and back. And also using the shift button, you can drag an audio file to make it double time. So I use this one as an example. So if I hold down shift, I can drag it across like that. If you want to make a certain channel bigger, you want to see the audio file a bit more, you can go shift alt and then scroll across, scroll to the right to make it bigger, and then you can scroll left to make it smaller. Also with your session view, if you want to zoom in, you can go Control Shift and scroll left, and then Control Shift and right. So a couple more shortcuts for you that can help the layout of your session is you can use Control Alt and L, and that removes the bottom panel. So it gives you more space so you can see all the channels which you're using. You can do Control Alt and B, and that gets rid of the browser on the left hand side. So if you're in your arrangement, you can see a lot more, which helps. And you can also do Control Alt and O. So Control Alt and O gets rid of the clip overview at the top. Ultimately, if I'm in a session, I'm going to drag this down so I can see more of it, but I could just get rid of that to free up some space too. Alright, so when it comes to audio effects, you're going to be using these quite regularly. And when you open Ableton, they come in folders. But often enough, you find yourself having to go through the folders to find stuff, and it takes a while, and it can get a bit annoying. What you can do is right-click one of the folders, and then unclick Group in Folder. You see here that they're all ungrouped, and you can put them in alphabetical order if you want. But what I prefer to do is click Rank, which you can then rank them by how often you use them, and then the ones that I use the most I can just drag in. Alright, so you may have certain projects where your CPU is stupidly high and you might hear some crackling in your audio. There is a way around this. You can see mine's really high already and I'm not even playing the track. So what you want to do is this C icon down here, you want to make sure that it's on, and you can see the CPU meters at the bottom of every channel. Alright, so you can hear mine's crackling now. So we can see which channels are causing that to spike. And then what we can do to get around that is for those particular channels, we can choose to freeze and flatten them. So you might have to freeze and flatten a couple of channels, but as long as it brings your CPU down, then you're all good. Alright, so this next one isn't a shortcut, but it will save you a ton of time. I did this when I first started, but then quickly realised that it wasn't worth doing. If you're automating the volume like I'm doing here, and you're doing it on the mixer, don't do it. Later on when you're playing with the levels, and you do it for this channel, the automation will disappear like you see here. And it's just undone all the automation you were doing previously. If you are going to automate volume, make sure to stick a utility on the channel and then do it that way. So now you can play around with the mixer, no problem. Alright, so let's go into the MIDI clips now, and I can show you what you can do in there, which ultimately gets some ideas down, and it can help give your ideas a bit of a lift as well. So just for this example, I have this piano. In the clip here I can click scale and then I can choose the key of my track. So this one's in A minor, but you'll notice that all the notes in that scale are in pink. So if I was to create more chords, I can use that as a guideline, which is a lot better on the eye. Plus, if you're not too familiar with keys and what notes go into a particular key, it is super helpful. Also, if I select all these notes here, I can have the time, double the time. I could also invert these, which could add as a progression. I could also randomize as well. So the higher this number is, the more random the velocity will be. So it'll be very up and down. But if I just do that to 30, plays around with the velocity, so notes will hit harder than others. It makes it sound more realistic, and that way I can add some variation to my chords. Also, if you're looking to get some ideas down quickly, you could just leave the root notes like this, and then have the time, and then put this up a couple of octaves. So the shortcut to do that is shift and up, and you can do Control D to duplicate that, and that's created a counter melody for you there. So yeah, that's a cool way to add a progression to your track as well. So this one's particularly useful if you have a chain which you feel like you're going to use again. Rather than going through the audio effects again and including them all from scratch, what you can do is by using shift, you can highlight the first one in the chain and the last one so they're all highlighted, and then hit Control G. So that puts it into an audio effect rack. So they're now all together. And then if you press this icon here and click save, you can save that chain, and then you can just drag it on again when you want to use it in a future project. So what it will do is it will save it in your user library underneath audio effects rack, and then yeah, when you come to using them again, you can just drag them in. So thanks for watching. Down below I'm going to link my template to finish more songs. So if you're struggling to finish songs, be sure to get that so you can follow it step by step. It's completely free, and I'm also going to link this video up above, which you should watch next. So see you very soon for another video.